Hi, I'm Jace. I'm a music analyst, classical singer, and dancer. And Seonghwa and Mingi decided that they were going to be troublemakers this week. So this is not what I was originally going to put up, but here you go. I was going to have a look at Mamacita today initially, and my feed has been overtaken a little bit by Seonghwa and Mingi doing their troublemaker thing. And I find it a really, really interesting interpretation of the original for a couple of different reasons. I mean, obviously, there's the whole Mingi taking on HyunA's role, which is not the obvious choice for him, but he does it so well. And then just the interactions between the two of them and the way they both kind of... Seonghwa loses character more than Mingi does, but they both really commit to the characters that they're playing in the part, and they're not overdoing it or trying to be funny. They're just just I went and had a look at the original of this so that I have some idea of the original choreo and how it actually went, what they did on stage, that sort of thing. And I have seen numerous bits and pieces of Mingi and Seonghwa and their 3 different versions of this. So I am going to try and talk about this while sitting down and not being able to get up and dance, which is going to be interesting, but I am not leaving my comfy chair, my blankie, and my tea. I know that there are 3 different performances, and that the video that I watched just now was a compilation. I am not going to have time to do all 3 and comparisons of the different ones on here, but I will do it for my Patreon page. So there is a video with them all in portrait, or with them in portrait, and it's the 3 different performances next to each other. So I am going to watch and comment through that, and I will put that extra commentary up on my Patreon if you are interested in going and having a look for it. Okay, I am going to start with a compilation because it has the best audio. So it's clips from days 1, 2, and 3 of the fan meeting put together. I'll put all the links for the different videos. Okay, interesting, the audio is doing stereo things. I really don't know where to start because I have so much to say. Let's go back and I will pause somewhere appropriate. I mean, that works. Okay. Let's start off with an easy one. The clothes that they are wearing and the inclusion of leopard print is a nod to the clothes from the original music video of this song. So that's cool. And I appreciate that they've kept them both in very masculine outfits, I suppose. I know Seonghwa likes to dress very gender neutral. He doesn't care what he's wearing, how it's supposed to be worn. If it looks good, he'll wear it. But with Mingi having taken on the female part, I appreciate that they didn't try and dress him feminine. And there's a couple of different things that they do here in terms of Mingi playing the female role that have been done so well and that I think are really, really interesting. First off, the choice of Mingi for playing that role rather than Seonghwa, who has the much more androgynous, slim build. He's shorter and smaller. Mingi is very masculine and powerful in his build and his stage persona. And he is not the obvious choice, especially with the deep voice. But he does it, and he does it really well. That said, he doesn't make a mockery of the role that he's playing and the piece and the choreography by making it so obviously a masculine man dancing women's feminine steps. He adds quite a lot of femininity to the steps and style, particularly in the style of his gestures, so his hand placement, the movement of his hips and shoulders, and his expressions. It's softer and more fluid than his usual very powerful masculine movement. And he does it without making it funny or making it a joke. He does it really, really, really well. And the other thing that the two of them do really, really well here is in pairs dances, couple dances. I'm speaking from experience in Latin and ballroom particularly. You have two different roles, traditionally gendered, a man and a woman, but the actual role of each person is a lead and a follow. And the lead directs the dance and kind of makes decisions and ensures that things are going where they need to go. And they do that through body movement and signals, as well as hand movement and signals and whatever. Whereas the follow's job is generally to show off a little bit more. Something that so often gets said to people dancing Latin and ballroom is that the gentlemen need to show off their lady. You are there to show your partner off. So as the lead, you are there to show the follow partner off. And as the follower, your job is to be theatrical and eye-catching, which Mingi does really, really well. The other job of the follower is to kind of do things like artistic interpretation, and in Latin and ballroom because you can't see behind you the person who is following, it's also their job to signal to the lead what is happening on the dance floor and make sure that they know, okay, I can step back here, I can't step back there. Generally in Latin and ballroom, you do that using your hands. So if your partner is going to step back and you see that there's somebody behind them, as a woman, as the follower in the partnership, I would usually signal with the hand that's on the back of their shoulder, or back of their shoulder, depends what dance you're doing, but the shoulder hand. But you can also tug and pull with your holding hand, and you can let the other person know what's going on around you while you're dancing. So it's not just one person directs and the other person just has to do what they're told. No, it's a partnership. You work together. Each person has a different role, and together those two roles make the performance. And that is something I want you to watch for here, watching Mingi and Seonghwa. Seonghwa is the one who does the gesturing, the come here's, the move this way is the move that way, is the this is that and the others. And Mingi follows that but adds his own flair and spice to it. The other thing that's interesting about this is generally the person who is in the lead role is taller and more well built. And here they have Mingi in the follow role, and he is the taller, more well built one. But yeah, it works. They make it work, and that's great. A partner dance that has very good examples of the lead and follow roles that doesn't really have to be gendered is East Coast Swing. I'll link some stuff, but there are some absolutely fantastic improvised East Coast Swing performances where you can see the two working in partnership, and one has a lead role and one has a follow role, but they communicate and they listen to each other and throw in little surprises and stuff, and so much fun. The actual thing now. Movement on the clicks, and then changing to movement on the breathing instead. The signal to Mingi and the reaction there, that's the lead initiating the start of the movement and the follow following on. Up, Mingi, step, step, step on the 1, 2, 3 on the beat. Really nice. Okay, there we go. The feminine style. Come on, back, back, back. A couple frames. There. Look at that body positioning. The cocked hip, the shoulders askew, you can see he's creating curves and arches. So one shoulder is down, one hip is cocked, and that one hip cocked and with that locked knee and the bent other foot is so Latin dancing coded, I suppose. Like, and then the hand coming up like that as well. And I can't help but notice Seonghwa's shoes. Heels. And they look very much like Latin dancing shoes. I wouldn't be surprised if they were. Look at the attitude of everything as well. And Seonghwa is standing very, very straight, very tall, very rigidly compared to Mingi. Like, this is very 2000s boy bands, with a lot of the movement and the steps, and that little turnaround and point thing is one of them. But look, okay, sorry, back again. What? Oh goodness. I am going to I would need to look at each of them individually. Let's watch this through focusing on Mingi first, and then we'll go and watch it through focusing on Seonghwa, because there's too much to just be watching one. Ooh! Ooh! That hip swivel. Ah! So you see how he places it would be his left foot. He places the left foot and then swivels the weight around. Places the left foot, swivels the weight. It's just, and the hips do a big circle rotation before they come back, and then he's bending at the waist and his hips, and look at that arm. Ah! Just look at that whole pose and the combination of poses, how one is very much straighter and angular than the other one. Feminine movement of the hand there. Ooh, saunter. Okay, so when he's walking, he's sinking into his hips. So he's taking a step forward and sink into the hip, and step forward and sink into the hip, and step forward and sink and sink and sink, instead of just walk, 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 which, oh, I should be able to get up and dance to explain this because, oh. Okay, I think this is from the earlier days because Seonghwa is breaking character. Mingi does such a good job of not breaking character. So the other thing is that he makes a lot of the movements very feminine, but he still has the little masculine touches, like holding the pants there. He doesn't try and turn himself into a woman, which I appreciate. Also, that little mole is doing work. Those hip swivels, I can't get over it. Okay, another thing that Mingi is doing with all of his stances and the way he is standing is making himself shorter. It's something that I do a lot as well. Not like here when they're standing straight next to each other, but look at how bent his knees are there. And there, he is making sure that he is lower so that you can still see Seonghwa over his shoulder and so that the positioning is correct. Okay, there, sinking into the hip and the wide stance again. Okay, the arch of the back in that little thing is a very good detail from Mingi. He's having so much fun with it. I will get to some. Strut. And that very hip and butt focused turn. I can't. Ah, look at that stance. I mean, even there, the angles of everything just. Look at that! The way he's sinking onto one hip and curving the torso. Oh, and that little weight change with the step was really nice. Yes. So I can see in this how a lot of the movements are not adapted, but specifically designed to be danced in high heels. Just in terms of the length of the strides. And when I say high heels, I'm not talking like dancing high heels. I'm talking platform stiletto type things, which are not made to be danced in generally, but okay, look how small Mingi's steps here are, especially on that little double time little chup 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 thing that he does. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so in this section, Mingi is not trying to keep the movements feminine. He's still doing them a bit more sassy than he otherwise would, but I will get to the vocals. Don't worry. Wait. Spin. Nice balance. And there as well, not trying to make the movements particularly feminine, he's just dancing. Very Michael Jackson inspired movement, this choreo. With those spins. Ooh, that eyebrow somehow. Okay. Back to the beginning, Seonghwa's turn, and then I will do vocals. So very wide arms and boxy, and the costuming really helps as well. Seonghwa is in a very structured jacket with wide shoulder pads, whereas Mingi has got the waistcoat, which trims the silhouette down as well. And Seonghwa's usual fantastic theatricality. Adjusting the cuffs and lapels. And the sparkly in ears. Okay, so you can see how Seonghwa is directing the movement. It's subtle. So that little tug of Mingi towards him when they come up from that little thing there. And then here, it looks like Mingi is pushing him away, but you can also see that Seonghwa's shoulder is guiding Mingi's arm, where it's on Seonghwa's shoulder. That turn of the shoulder is guiding the movement of Mingi's body. And when you've got choreography like this, it's very important as the follower not to preempt the movement, because then it looks unnatural, I suppose, because it looks like you're expecting it and just doing your own thing. So they do that very well here, reacting to each other's movements and body cues. That little Okay, look how much straighter Seonghwa is standing than Mingi. And that's like partially the height thing. Mingi is lowering his height intentionally, but the man has still got shoes. But it's also the role that he's playing in the dancing. Okay, there we go. The two hands directing the movement. Less how he is moving and more the positioning and where he's facing. There we go, so moving him around. The movement of the arm. That little shrug is really nice. The elegance of that hand movement. He's not actually clicking, I don't think, but da da dum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum. No, he's not clicking. Just the elegance of that finger movement. Okay, watch how Mingi's movement revolves around Seonghwa and where Seonghwa is on the stage. So the lead and follow roles don't necessarily have to be about one person directing the other, but who holds the center focus of the movement. So everywhere that Mingi is on the stage and every movement that Mingi is doing is orientated towards and aimed at Seonghwa. So as much as he's performing for the audience, he is performing for Seonghwa as well, because that's the focus of the performance. See that awareness of where Seonghwa is with the kind of the glance over the shoulder. Okay, and although Mingi does this to Seonghwa, Mingi goes to Seonghwa. Seonghwa does not go to Mingi. So even though Mingi is arguably the focus of that because he's the one that's rapping and doing most of the choreos, Seonghwa is just standing there. Mingi is putting the focus on Seonghwa. His focus. The audience's focus might be on Mingi, but Mingi's focus is on Seonghwa. I love that. Okay, so Seonghwa broke his lead there for a couple of seconds. You can see him focusing on Mingi. And yes, it's to make sure that the staging and direction and everything is right. But he comes out of that spin and so he's chasing but not in control there. And that's the first time he's broken that lead character that I've seen. There as well, Mingi glancing over the shoulder. When Seonghwa is singing, Seonghwa is not necessarily looking at Mingi. But Mingi's focus while he's dancing is on Seonghwa, where he is and what he's doing. And that characterization is so good. There again, the focus, Mingi's focus is on Seonghwa. It's all in the body language. Okay, again. Just watch how Seonghwa isn't, except for that one point, he's not checking where Mingi is. He's just doing his thing. Mingi is constantly checking where Seonghwa is. Which is why Seonghwa is in the lead of the stars. No, why did we pause? Okay, even something as subtle as that last hand movement before they... Seonghwa's hand there is up, he's directing the movement and where it needs to go. So good. Audio. Because the audio is just as interesting with Mingi singing the ladies' parts. So something interesting about these two, actually, let's find a good. I mean, there again, Mingi is constantly watching Seonghwa, and part of their characterization of this, I mean, the story of the song is somebody kind of flirting and then running away, and then flirting and running away, and making trouble and trying to make somebody fall in love with them, type of thing. That is Mingi, and Seonghwa, even though this is going on, is just in control of the situation the whole time. He knows exactly what's going on. The flirting can continue. He is inviting and encouraging it, but not necessarily being seduced against his will, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway. Seonghwa has such a nice, warm tenor sound here. Just, it's rich and warm and comfortable. It sits really comfortably in his voice. And Mingi's much lower, husky sound is a really interesting contrast. I mentioned before the contrast in the voices between the two of them. The smooth, clean sound and the huskiness of Mingi's voice. So something I have done for this is I have boosted the lower and bass frequencies to be able to hear Mingi's vocals and part a little bit better. So I have done that. I do wish that with the mixing of this, Mingi's track was a little bit louder. Because his voice is so low, it gets lost a little bit with the music, but you can hear it kind of as this grounding undertone in the melody line. Seonghwa's voice is the one that comes across the best in the sound, but it would definitely be missing something without Mingi. I just want to get up and dance. Oh. There's just this husky, warm sound of Mingi's voice sitting under the melody. And they're not singing live the whole time. I mean, you can see that. This is not the first time I have wished for the tracks that they make for these covers to be released. I really want Stray Kids' Sherlock one. And I would love to have this Troublemaker as well. Ooh. Okay, Seonghwa with the low husky voice, and he's tone matching with Mingi there. But you can hear that although the low notes are there, that it's not as resonant and full as Mingi in the same register. And that's just because Mingi's got a naturally lower voice. falsetto there. Nice. Higher register and into falsetto. Nice transition between the two registers there as well. Very clean. Mingi as well in the upper register as well. But you can hear how even in the upper register his voice is raspier than Seonghwa's, but much cleaner than when he's singing all the way down at the bottom. Woo! Da it's intentional. They've got their shoulders going up on two different beats. I assume it's intentional. It's because Seonghwa started Seonghwa Mingi and then they match. Very nice. Mingi there in this section after that dance break loses a lot of the feminine flair of his movement and goes back to just being his normal self. It's much more similar to his own stage persona. The power in that walk. Oh, there he brings it back. That eyebrow is fantastic. And there, even though Mingi is doing most of the floating, touching Seonghwa's hair and everything, as soon as Seonghwa grabs that tie, you know he's the one in charge of the situation. Okay, that leg, when Seonghwa turns around and brings the leg up, almost like a little flamingo thing, and then he lowers it slowly and has his foot hitting the floor on the beat. The backup dancers aren't doing that, and that musicality and timing is really good. And also the balance and control. Like, I just want to go through my notes on this performance because there was a whole lot that I picked up on and kind of wrote about and whatever beforehand in the planning and lead up to this. And I really want to make sure that I have everything in. I've spoken about Mingi taking the unexpected role of the less masculine, or the follow, as I've been calling it, in the performance. That's kind of a little bit unexpected, but as ATEEZ will know, Mingi is a princess and likes to do his pretty princess thing. So that kind of sassy feminine side of him is not all too unfamiliar if you're familiar with Mingi himself and his personality and character. Along the same lines of Mingi being a pretty pink princess, and kind of on the topic of guys and male idols in general making the choreography of girl groups masculine. Mingi, or if not masculine, gender neutral. Mingi doesn't do that here. He very much still keeps the femininity of the style and the movement and everything, but without playing it up and making it funny. So he's fully committed to what he's doing and completely serious about it. He's not trying to, oh, look at me overemphasizing and overacting the woman's parts. No. He's just adding a touch of femininity to his dancing and moving in a way that is more typical of a feminine body. So I mentioned earlier deliberately changing how he's holding his hands and arms and his hips, but his posture is a very important one as well. And some of it he does do very neutrally, some of it he does quite masculine, some of it he does very feminine. And I really appreciate the fact that he's still being himself and dancing how he dances and how he wants to dance, even within this role that he's playing. The other thing is that he's not embarrassed. Like, he is the character that is doing it, and the character is not embarrassed, so he's not embarrassed. He just does it, and it's great. I mentioned that he remains himself on stage. He changes his movement, he changes his characterization, but he's not specifically trying to imitate HyunA. I don't know if you pronounce the name HyunA or HyunA, but he's not trying to be something other than he is. He's not trying to be someone else. I mean, his presence is still there, his height is still there, the deepness of his voice is still there, and the very commanding stage persona is still there. But he doesn't make himself seem weak or diminished or something that he's not. And he uses his chemistry with Seonghwa, and Seonghwa likewise. Just their relationship and their understanding of each other as part of the role, which is really, really good. And now I'm getting to the bit in my notes where talking about the pretty princess. So yeah, the contrast between his build, voice, and presence on stage, and then the soft, playful, affectionate personality that he has. And depending on how familiar you are with him as a person, you'll kind of get different things from his characterization on stage of this. If you're unfamiliar with him, it's quite striking to have the role reversal of the more masculine man playing the more feminine follow character. If you know a little bit about him, it just shows how versatile he is on stage, which, yeah, perfect example. And then if you know him really well, if you're an ATEEZ, then like, yeah, it's Mingi. It's just an expression of that side of him on stage. The other thing is with the vocals. So Mingi is singing the upper lines lower, which is very interesting and can do very interesting things with the sound and things like chord building. So it's not so much a thing in pop music and stuff of this style, but with the vocal group that I sing with, we have 2 sopranos, a countertenor, a tenor, and a bass baritone. And sometimes when we're singing 5-part music, the part distribution doesn't match the parts that we have in our group. So sometimes one of the sopranos or both of the sopranos will end up singing a tenor line an octave up. And you have to check that it works, because the positioning of the notes in the chord, you're creating things like inversions where piano. So if I'm going, that is a C, an E, and a G. What happens if I go E, E, G, C? That is technically the same chord. It uses the same notes, C, E, G. But it changes the quality of the tone a little, the chord a little bit. And that's what moving the higher part to a lower register does, and one of the reasons it fits so interestingly in here. Otherwise, I need to get to Mamacita. That is what was supposed to be happening today to go up this week, but yeah, the troublemakers decided to make trouble and they took over instead. So Mamacita will have to wait for another time, but it is coming. I'm going to listen to it because I have had lots of people asking about it. The next video is also one that there have been lots of requests for. It'll be a Stray Kids video, and I'm going to have a look at Lover by HyunA, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about his vocals, his vocal style, his vocal journey, and everything that he's been through in the last little while, and kind of discuss that a little bit and what it's like as a vocalist, as a performer, to go through vocal trouble and vocal issues, because it's not easy, especially when it's such a big part of your identity as a performer. You feel like you're losing a part of yourself. So yeah, there's different things that can cause it. There's different things that you can do to help fix it. There's all sorts of stuff to discuss. So if you have any comments or questions on that, or anything that you want me to talk about or particularly mention or look into for that, then let me know. Beyond that, I am done with this for now. I'm going to go and have a look at the 3 different performances next to each other, and then editing to try and get this to you as soon as possible.